There are some major theories and approaches to learning. For our class purpose, we will study 4 of them, being the first one, behaviorism, which includes classical conditioning and operant conditioning. We will continue with cognitivism, and then we will study constructivism, to finally have experiential learning as the last theory we will check. Let's start with behaviorism. Behavioral approach, or behaviorism, is an approach to psychology in which behaviorists define learning as nothing more than the acquisition of new behavior based on environmental conditions. The mind is considered a tabula rasa, or in other words, a blank slate at the moment a baby is born. The key principle of behaviorism is the reward or punishment of a new behavior. The theory states that the reward that someone makes to someone for particular behavior encourages him or her to behave in the same way in a similar situation. The reward reinforces behavior. For example, if the teacher compliments a student for a good comment made during the class, there is more of a chance that the teacher hears further comments from the student in the future. On the contrary, if behavior is punished, the subject is less likely to repeat it. Behaviorism is primarily concerned with observable behavior, as opposed to internal events like thinking and emotion. Classical conditioning, theory developed by Ivan Pavlov. According to its principles, learning takes place when an association is formed between a previous neutral stimulus and a neutral occurring stimulus. In Pavlov's experiments, for example, he paired the natural stimulus of food with the sound of a bell. The dogs would naturally salivate in response to food. But after multiple associations, the dogs will salivate to the sound of the bell alone. Pavlov quoted, "From the described experiment, it is clear that the mere act of eating the food, even not reaching the stomach, determines the stimulation of the gastric glands." Pavlov demonstrated conditioning on dogs, but sometime later, American psychologist John Watson and his colleague Rainer wanted to prove that it happens in humans too. He took a 9-month-old boy named Albert and showed him several items: a monkey, a dog, a rabbit, a mask, with and without hair, and a white rat, among other things. Albert didn't seem scared of any of them. Later, Albert was put on a mattress in the middle of a room. The rat was placed near Albert and he was allowed to play with it. At this point, Watson and Rainer made a loud sound behind Albert's back by striking a suspended steel bar with a hammer each time the baby touched the rat. Albert responded to the noise by crying and showing fear. After several such pairings of the stimuli, Albert was presented with only the rat. Upon seeing the rat, Albert got very distressed, crying and crawling away. Apparently, the infant associated the white rat with the noise. Watson and Rainer found that Albert developed phobias of objects which shared characteristics with the rat, including the family dog, a fur coat, some cotton wool, and a Father Christmas mask. This process is known as generalization. Albert was affected perhaps his entire life due to this conditioning. Watson stated, "Men are built, not born. The possibilities of shaping in any direction are almost endless." Operant conditioning. B.F. Skinner was an American psychologist like Pavlov and Watson, and he was a behaviorist as well. He concentrated on how behavior was affected by its consequences. Skinner proposed that the way humans learn behavior is much the same as the way the rats learn to press a lever. He spoke of reinforcement and punishment as major factors in driving behavior. As a part of his research, Skinner developed a chamber that allowed the careful study of the principles of modifying behavior through reinforcement and punishment. This device, known as an operant conditioning chamber, or more familiarly a Skinner box, has remained a crucial resource for researchers studying behavior. Skinner showed how positive reinforcement worked by placing a hungry rat in his Skinner box. The box contained a lever on the side, and as the rat moved about the box, it would accidentally knock the lever. Immediately it did so, a food pellet would drop into a container next to the lever. The rat quickly learned to go straight to the lever after a few times of being put in the box. The consequence of receiving food, if they pressed the lever, ensured that they would repeat the action again and again. Skinner expressed, "A failure is not always a mistake. It may simply be the best one can do under the circumstances. The real mistake is to stop trying." Thank you very much for your kind attention.